We started the day in Kingman, walking from the hotel to the nearest gas station to get some hydration. Then took our bikes down to the same place to fill them up. Got on to Route 66 and set towards the Saddle Sore Ranch. The old Route 66 is not a straight road anymore, as the I-40 has replaced it as the main way to get from Chicago to LA. Every once in a while you have to go over or under the I-40 to follow the mother road. In a lot of places it is completely gone, but at this part it's almost intact. We got to the Saddle Sore Ranch just after most people had woken up after yesterday's party. Had a coffee and a chat before we were documented by the owner, and we set off towards Oatman. The weather had changed, and even if it was still a little cold in the morning, we now had blue sky. We followed Route 66, and after a while we entered the part of it known as the Arizona Sidewinder. This stretch of road is what we are looking for. Bend after bend, up and down, a challenging ride. Just the perfect road for motorcycling. Stopped at the top to enjoy the view and take some photos before we started the descent down to Oatman. Just as fun to ride down the mountain as it was up, and after a while we got to the city of Oatman. Oatman used to be an old mining town and also was a famous stop on the Route 66 before the I-90 was ready. Today it is still famous as a very well preserved old town, and also for the wild burros roaming the area, including the town itself. We parked the bikes and started to explore the tiny town full of tourists and burros. At the Oatman Hotel we had a meal and found a place to leave a Norwegian tenner amongst a few $100,000 bills. Got back into the main street and now the weather was getting really good. So good in fact that we treated ourselves with an ice cold beer in the sun of the deck of Judy's saloon. Got back to the bikes and watched a very mediocre actor playing a bank robber trying to get out of town. The play was taking place right in front of the bikes, so we had to wait for him to finish. We rode out of town towards Topok, Arizona on the Route 66. Again we were on a nice road with nice turns and corners and enjoyed the ride in the warm weather. Stopped to fiddle around with the drone for a bit and agreed we should practice a bit more before next trip. Kept on going and soon arrived in the little town of Topok. This is where Rudy, that we met in Sellingman, has a place and where the bikes will be stored at a later time. It was now getting quite hot, and as we were close to the Colorado River, we decided to find a place to swim and cool down for a while. Checked out a rest place close to the river to see the possibilities. We asked a local, who turned out not to be a local, and we decided to look for a better place. We crossed the river into the California side and found a place called Pirates Cove on the map. Plotted that into Google Maps, and shortly after we arrived at the riverbank. There we met a really nice family and their friends, and they invited us to come swim by their boat and also treated us with ice cold beer. We had a really good time with these nice people, but we had to move on as we still had quite a good way to go. We found an interesting not paved road and decided it was about time to get some adventure riding on this trip. It was a lot more sand than we had bargained for, and our tires were not the best for this surface. But it was a fun ride, and even if the bikes went down a couple of times, we had a very good time playing in the sand. The bikes are quite heavy when they're packed and not easy to get up in the loose sand. But when you're two, it's not that hard to get them up. Time was running, and even as fun as it was to ride the sandy dirt road, we had to find a faster road to get to our destination before it got dark. Found a railroad bridge that we could just get under. And dropped the bike again. And again, we got it up. And shortly after, we arrived at the California sign. We were now in our fifth and last state of the journey. got back on the Route 66 towards Needles, California, and stopped for a photo on the Mother Road. While we stopped, we also poured some sand out of the boots. When we arrived in Needles, we decided it was time to get some food, and we stopped at a wagon wheel to get a healthy meal. Got back on the Route 66 and followed it for quite some time. As the sun started to set, we decided to get on the I-40 to avoid driving in the dark for too long. Stopped to fill up the bikes and set off into the darkness toward Barstow. There we stopped at Pegasus Diner for some food and drinks before we rode to the motel with the King's wise words in our minds.
Rock and roll at your service. Listen up. It's better to keep your mouth shut and be thought a fool